Hi everyone. This week, myself, Julie, along with Renita, Janelle, and Amanda, we will be presenting evaluation of voice volume in young developmentally delayed children via an operant shaping procedure. This is by Dr. Fleece, Dr. Gross, Dr. O'Brien, Dr. Kistner, Dr. Rothbaum, and Dr. Drabman. It was published in 1981 in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis, issue 14, pages 351 to 355. The purpose of this study was to try and increase voice volume in children with developmental delay whose voice volume was too low to be interpreted. So the idea around this was that language must be heard in order for it to be functional. And there are a few studies that had explored this before this study, but all the findings up until now had not been generalized to typical settings like classrooms or outside of a clinical setting at all. So this study did generalize that and has follow-up data, as well as this study took children with developmental delays, whereas the past studies typically only had adults. And the subjects, as I mentioned before, had extremely low voice volume in baseline. The study was a multiple baseline across subjects design with two participants, both outlined as having developmental delay and extremely low voice volume, which will be explained later on in the presentation. And the simple methodology that will also be expanded upon is that during the teaching trial, the children were removed from the classroom and had to speak in a certain volume in order to receive the reinforcement, which was a light up display that kind of looked like a Christmas tree, which we'll get into a little more detail later on. And then the final step was that they generalized this into the classroom setting, and volume was measured on a scale of 1 to 20, which will also be explained in the dependent variable section. The results, just a quick overview, is that there was a significant increase in voice volume for both subjects that was able to be generalized into the classroom setting.
The dependent variable was voice volume, defined as spoken words measured on a scale of 0 to 20, 0 representing usually inaudible volume, a rating of 5 representing usually too soft, a rating of 10 representing usually normal, a rating of 15 representing usually too loud, and a rating of 20 representing usually screaming. The independent variable was the shaping procedure used to increase voice volume. The shaping procedure was to alter the sensitivity of the voice-activated relay device. Prior to collecting data, the treatment training sessions were conducted for 15 minutes approximately twice a week. During the training sessions, the child chose a nursery rhyme to recite in front of the voice-activated relay device, which had a visual display. No reinforcement was provided. However, feedback was given in the form of letting the child know that he or she did not light the tree that time. Having the child light the tree with volume increases was to serve as the reinforcer. During the baseline and treatment phases, the child recited the rhyme in front of the whole class. This was run twice a week, approximately 1 to 2 hours after training, for approximately 20 minutes. The voice volume was noted based on the relay scale of 0 to 20 described earlier. The voice volume was recorded by the teacher and a naive independent observer, or by two separate naive independent observers. Follow-up was conducted at 1 month and 4 months after the treatment. Ability was said to have been assessed at each treatment session. Inter-observer agreement was described as attaining a Pearson product moment correlation of 0.90 between the teacher and the independent observer and 0.87 between the two independent observers.
Crystal was a 4-year-old girl who passed most age-appropriate nonverbal items on the Vineland. Her intelligence could not be tested due to problems with shyness and voice volume. Franklin was a 5-year-old boy with a Stanford Binet IQ of 73. Both children demonstrated extreme shyness, social withdrawal, delayed speech, and very low voice volume. Both children were in a school with low teacher-child ratios. During treatment training sessions, positive reinforcement was the behavioral principle used to increase voice volume for both Crystal and Franklin. The voice volume apparatus included a visual light-up display when the child met the set voice volume criteria. The light-up display consisted of red and green lights that form the shape of a Christmas tree. During these treatment training sessions, with the voice volume apparatus, it was hoped that the visual display would serve as reinforcement for the individuals. Performance feedback was also given to the individuals, such as, "You didn't light up the Christmas tree." Social reinforcement for voice volume increases were specifically excluded. Authors did not note why they were excluded from the study. No behavioral principles were noted by the authors for the treatment phases alone. Shaping was the behavioral tactic used to increase voice volume during the treatment training sessions. The voice volume of the participants were shaped by gradually increasing the sensitivity of the voice volume apparatus so that closer approximations to a normal speaking voice was needed to light up the visual display. No behavioral tactics were noted by authors for the treatment phases alone.
During the baseline phase of the study, Crystal had an average voice volume of 0.6 according to the rating scale of 0 to 20. The data showed slight variability at the beginning, but then showed zero trend, which was stable towards the end of the baseline phase. Franklin had an average voice volume of 3.2 during the baseline phase, and his data showed zero trend with high variability. During the treatment phase, which took place in a sound attenuated room, Crystal's mean voice volume was 7.2. She had a mean voice volume of 9.75 over the last 8 sessions of the phase. The data showed a rapidly increasing stable trend at the beginning of the treatment phase, and then showed zero trend with high stability throughout the rest of the treatment. During the treatment phase, Franklin's voice volume increased to a mean volume of 8.0, with the mean of 9.7 during the final 3 sessions of the phase. The data showed gradually increasing variable trend. In the follow-up phase, which took place in the generalized classroom setting, Crystal produced voice volumes of an average of 9.25 at 1 month and 10.0 at 4 months. During Franklin's follow-up phase, he produced volumes of 7.5 at 1 month and 10.0 at 4 months. The results from the study show that by using shaping and positive reinforcement, voice volume increased to normal ranges for both participants in the treatment phase and in the generalized classroom setting during regular academic activities. A paper by Morgan and Morgan mentioned that if each client's behavior remains stable during baseline, changing only with the transition to treatment, then we can quite be confident that the changes resulted from treatment, not from some uncontrolled variable. Franklin's baseline results show high variability, which may be problematic when assuming a functional relationship exists between the target behavior and the independent variable. Morgan and Morgan also mentioned that the reason for Franklin's results may have been due to him being the second subject of the study, and therefore he may have been able to learn through social modeling. This circumstance could have existed in the study as the teachers had students reciting nursery rhymes twice a week during baseline and treatment phases, and Crystal's treatment began before Franklin's. Although the results from both participants showed an increase in voice volume upon presentation of the independent variable, the study does not have enough internal validity due to the previously mentioned weaknesses in Franklin's results. If another participant was added to the study and showed similar results to Crystal's, then we could say a functional relationship existed between shaping using positive reinforcement and increasing voice volume. Using the article by Morgan and Morgan again, they suggest that the goal of exposing a client to behavior therapy interventions is to produce an important and reliable change in the target behavior that will maintain itself beyond the formal parameters of treatment. The results of this study were socially and educationally significant as it objectively measured voice volume, unlike past studies, and once the voice volume increases were made and stabilized, they were generalized into natural settings and across tasks quite effortlessly. The teachers in this study found that this intervention was easy to apply and very practical within the classroom. Low voice volumes have negative implications when it comes to many academic skills as well as social skills. With an increase in voice volumes, individuals would be able to interact better with their peers and would have more academic success. Speech and verbal skills are a major prereq to many academic skills and are very important for academic success. Both students were able to generalize their speech, increase voice volumes to everyday speech. Prior to the study, Crystal was unable to be scored on an IQ test due to her limited speech, especially voice volume. After the intervention, Crystal was able to complete the IQ test and scored a 93. After completing the preschool program, it was recommended that Crystal be placed in a regular educational setting. The procedures used in the study could simply be replicated in other settings as they are easy to use and don't require much equipment. There is no access to a sound apparatus. A scale similar to the one in the study could be used. Tangible reinforcers such as food, stickers, toys, etc. could be used. It would be very important for individuals applying this procedure to use the scale objectively, and IOA would be very important when using the type of measurement tool. More effort would also be required to have the skill become generalized and to fade reinforcement. A visual scale could be used that the teacher manually manipulates depending on the voice volume of the student. This would be relatively easy to create and could be individualized for the student by using images that are reinforcing to the individuals. Once again, there will be more effort to have this skill become generalized and to fade reinforcement. The type of shaping used during this study could be used across different types of verbal behavior, such as verbal imitation or accurately pronouncing words.